Indeed, welcome to this special coverage on KTN Prime. Now, on the second day of the status conference, the Supreme Court judges ruled that demands by Raila Odinga for a forensic audit of IEBC IT systems was time-barred. Odinga, through his lawyers, had sought court orders compelling IEBC to provide logs of 6 servers used in transmission of results to establish when the system collapsed. Now, the judges ruled that Odinga should have filed applications at the same time he filed the petition. Well, similarly, the court has rejected Raila's plea for introduction of additional evidence. The judges ruled that a 900-page affidavit and its annexes introducing fresh evidence be expunged from court records. IEBC had argued that there was limited time for it to respond to the bulky document. In the ruling, the court ordered Odinga to pay for costs for the proceedings challenging the additional affidavits. Well, earlier in the afternoon, the court rejected a request by Katiba Institute to be enjoined in the suit as a friend of the court, citing bias on the part of Yashpal Gai towards third respondent Uhuru Kenyatta and fourth respondent William Ruto. And tomorrow, attention will be on the court's ruling on a plea by Africog asking the court to compel IEBC to furnish the court with the manual voter registers. Well, those are the supreme highlights, all the things that happened this day in the Supreme Court. We now go over to James Smart and Sophia Wanuna to indeed give us more of these details. Just to go over some of those issues there was a forensic audit plea which has been rejected, and we can cross over to James Smart and Sophia Wanuna at the Supreme Court.
Thank you, Betty. Now, here at the Supreme Court, we begin with two major legal setbacks for the court team, and that is the rejection of two applications they filed before the judges.
Well, the judges earlier this afternoon threw out an application by Raila Odinga's legal team seeking to introduce additional evidence of alleged electoral irregularities. The court gave orders to expunge the 839-page affidavit by Raila lawyers, arguing that the application was time-barred and would introduce new issues into the petition.
Indeed, also ruled out of order was another application by court seeking to have a forensic audit of the equipment used by the IEBC during the March 4th election. KTN's Rita Tunina has more from the courtroom.
After a morning of arguments and counter-arguments on the second and last day of the presidential petition pre-trial conference, the afternoon session saw Supreme Court judges deliver their ruling on matters before the court. An application by Raila Odinga's legal team to have respondents in the petition reply to an 839-page affidavit had earlier caused a heated argument.
There is not one quote petitioner's affidavit in reply, but 7 affidavits in total. This aspect was not addressed by any of the parties who submitted before us.
Arguments by counsel that it would take time to reply to the affidavit was upheld by the court.
The remaining time before the trial is not reasonably adequate for the respondent to file any reasonable answer.
According to the judges, the affidavit would introduce new issues that would change the character of the petition.
We hereby expunge from the court records the petitioner's affidavit sworn on 22nd March 2013, together with all the annexures, which include the other affidavits.
Another application by Raila Odinga's lawyers for a forensic audit of the equipment used by the IEBC during the election was also dismissed.
The court cannot grant the order sought without seriously jeopardizing the hearing of the petition. In view of the foregoing reasons, the application is hereby declined. We make no order as to cause.
And Professor Yashpal Gai will not be enjoined as a friend of the court. In their opposition to his application, lawyers had argued that the former commissioner of the now defunct Constitution of Kenya Review Commission was partisan.
this court is convinced that the perception of bias and partisanship with regard to the applicant in this matter exists. In view of the foregoing, the court's position is that the application by the Katiba Institute for admission to the status of amicus curiae is disallowed.
The two-day hearing of the historic petition kicks off at 9:30 a.m. Wednesday. Judges have until Saturday the 30th to deliver their ruling on the landmark case that will no doubt set a precedent for the country. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Alright, and this is the home of that titanic legal battle. We sit right outside the Supreme Court, so if you've been here the entire day, just what mood did you get from the lawyers and the Supreme Court as they entered and argued the case today?
Of course, there's a lot of eagerness to just get on with it. It's just 2 days of the pre-trial hearings. It's now over and it's now gearing up to the hearings that begin tomorrow. But you could tell, you know, inside there, those kind of punches, verbal ones from the various counsel. But at the end of the day, after the sessions, they mingled just like friends. They'd laugh, they'd look relaxed. But at the same time, in most of the breaks, actually, they were ending the sessions and all just zooming out of here, I guess, to go to their own people to just tighten up loose ends and decide what's next.
Interesting. I mean, it's a tasking thing. I mean, just watching it, and I mean, the country has been following every process and procedures of it, and just watching it, how tasking is it for the lawyers? You know, they have to go back to the back room and figure out what has happened, what went wrong, and what went right.
Yes.
But then you see, in the floor of the House, they throw jabs at each other.
Yes.
But then again, in the breaks, they talk.
They talk, yeah, exactly. That's, you know, it's very interesting because inside there, it's, you know, game face, the kind of things they say to each other. But at the end of the day, it's the interest of their clients. Even when you'd hear in some of the, when they were making submissions on time, and some of the counsel were arguing that we should get more time than other than this respondents because of our case, each would uphold the interest of their clients. So at the end of the day, for each of this counsel, it's all about the interest of their clients, and they want to put their best foot forward, and really the showdown begins tomorrow, James.
All right, obviously we'll have Ambrose Sweder, who will be giving us, you know, the legal nitties that has happened today and walk us through what has happened today. But I must ask you about Naslin Omar. Yesterday she threw, you know, a whole drama at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Took the Supreme Court by surprise and, you know, held the Supreme Court hostage, if you like. Where was she today?
She was here actually, only that today she was not given the limelight. She came, she wanted to get into the Supreme Court again and address the Supreme Court judges. She was not given that opportunity. She actually had a sit down, literally sat down outside the Supreme Court. Of course, had to be gotten out, and the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary then had a meet with her and explained to her that she just cannot come in and address the Supreme Court judges. There is a procedure, so she was advised to take her papers to the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court so they can look at her papers, look at on what grounds she wants to appear and address the Supreme Court judges, and if they find there is legal ground and that there is jurisdiction for whatever she wants to address them on, then she will be given that time.
Indeed.
All right, let's move on. At the KICC, just a stone's throw away from here, agents of the various parties to these petitions began the retallying of votes from 22 polling stations as ordered by the Supreme Court.
Now, the fresh tallying follows allegations of massive discrepancies between the declared results and that which was announced at the polling stations. KTN's Catherine Omantho now joins us live with the details. Catherine.
Thank you, James and Sophia. Now, the court team may have lost out today in the ruling, but the order that was given by the Supreme Court yesterday has taken effect, with the 10 agents who are currently counting or retallying results from 22 polling stations using Form 34 and 36. Now, these are the forms that are used to make the final announcement, the final presidential announcement on the 9th of March by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commissioner Isaac Hassan. Now, just earlier we were at the KICC where the retallying center is, and and we managed to get a few shots, although the media was very restricted in going in and giving those shots, but we got some. And we also got the judges going in later on at around 6:30, looking at how the retallying process is taking place. Now, this retallying process is also being overseen by agents of all the parties involved in the petition. So I was earlier in KCC, and this is what I filed for you.
Now at 7:30 this morning, Chief Registrar of the Judiciary Gladys Sholay swore in 10 agents representing each party within this petition. Now these agents will be tasked to scrutinize Form 36 and 34 of 22 polling stations. This retallying exercise was brought about by a request by the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, saying that there was a discrepancy within these 22 polling stations. Now the agents have been here since morning, and they will be here all night until tomorrow, when results are expected to be presented to the Supreme Court judges by 3 p.m. At 6:30 this evening, the Supreme Court judges, all 6 of them, entered the retallying center, where they will supervise and monitor the process for as long as they can. These are the Form 34s, and this is our own. And then we compare. Yes, those keep the same table, so they are supervised.
Now, as you see, the judges left at around 7 o'clock, 5 minutes to 7 this evening, and went back to their chambers as the retallying process continued to go on. And it will go on until possibly later on tonight, and there will be results. Results have to be given to the Supreme Court by 3:30 or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that the court had also ruled that Form 34 and 36 of all 33,000 polling stations also need to be scrutinized, because they say that there's a discrepancy within the registered voters and also the number of votes cast among these tallies. So this is what's going to go on for the rest of the night. We'll be keeping vigil to give you information as they come. I will hand you back to James and Sophia.
All right, and here out of the Supreme Court, I'm now joined by Ambrose Weda, who's a council member, Law Society of Kenya, and advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
It's been a great day, would you say?
Thank you. It has been a fruitful day full of many things.
All right,
yeah.
I'll be coming to get those legal details of just what happened today and their implication from Ambrose Weda just when we come back. Back to you, Betty.
Thank you very much, James Smart. Looking forward to that. Now, like we promised, we have been keeping track of how Kenyans across the country have been following the proceedings at the Supreme Court. And we're now joined live by Mercy Kandie from Eldoret. Mercy, what is the mood there?
Yes, thank you very much. The mood here in Eldoret town, residents are very anticipating of the 30th, the day of the ruling, and the residents that we talked to were saying that although much of the language that is being used in the court is considered as jargon to them, they're saying that they have a lot of faith with the judiciary. We talked to what is termed as Bunge la Mwananchi, where people who call themselves politicians within the local residents within town gather and share their views about the petition, the election, if there'll be a runoff, their own views. So we talked to some of them, and they're saying that they will also ensure that there is peace even during the whole petition hearing and after it. So we talked to a few residents today in the morning, those who are watching from hotels and restaurants within Eldoret town, and this is what they had to say. Take a look.
Of that part will depend on your ruling. So if it should be because I think this contest goes beyond my
lakini kwa communication wako sawa kabisa. Tunaelewa ile lugha wanatumia ni ile mzuri, sio ile ya terms and lawyer, ni ile ya mwananchi ya kawaida.
Jana jioni nilikaa kwa nyumba nikachungulia kama masaa matatu kwa nyumba mpaka television yangu ikaisha moto. Kwangu TV yangu inakuwa ni ya sora, kwa hivyo moto ikaisha haraka. Kwa hivyo leo nitaiona kama usiku kwa sababu nitafungulia kama saa 2.
Imani yetu yote kama Wakenya ambayo tulipiga kura tumeweka kwa mahakama. So tunatarajia kwamba mahakama itatufanyia haki.
Kulingana na sisi watu wa Eldoret hapa tunaijua kwamba tulipiga kura kwa amani na tulimaliza kwa amani, na sisi tuliona hii uchaguzi hatukukuwa na tashwishi yoyote.
Well, there you have it, residents of Eldoret town airing their views about the current petition. Well, they have a lot on their mind. The governor's swearing in is in tomorrow. They are anticipating that. The senator's swearing in coming the following day. And also it is a farming season here in the North Rift region. So yes, as a North Rift, as a region, they have a lot in their minds. And even as they wait for the petition, most of the residents we talk to, they say they have full faith in the judiciary. From Eldoret town, Amasi Kandi, I hand you back to Betty Kialo in our studios in Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Masi Kande. We'll also try to link up with our reporter from Kisumu County, Fred Omulo, to just tell us what exactly has been happening in Kisumu County. And that is it from this end of the Supreme Court followings. We now move over to Mombasa, where 4 people have been arraigned in a Mombasa court and charged with drug-related offences. The 4 were busted by police and found to be in possession of heroin in separate police raids carried out in 3 residences in Mombasa last evening. And as Ferdinand Omondi reports, it appears the war on drugs at the coastal city is gaining momentum.
It was here at the Royal Apartments in Bamburi where police busted an adult male and female in possession of heroin on Monday evening. The pair, Mohammed Ali and Elizabeth Moisaka, had the drugs packed in pellets and sachets. Police also confiscated a bundle of notes, both in local and foreign currency, and their passports before hauling them off to an undisclosed location. And this morning, the pair appeared before Chief Magistrate Stephen Rich and were charged with being in possession of 268 grams of heroin valued at 537,000 shillings. They denied the charges and hearing was set for 1st of May. Prosecution opposed their bail application on the grounds that they might abscond, but defense submitted that there were no sufficient grounds to deny them. Hearing of the bail application shall be on the 5th of April. In the same court, Anthony Arinze, aka Oga, was also charged with drug trafficking. The court had that on the same day, the Nigerian national was arrested in Nyali Estate in possession of 300 grams and 9 sachets of heroin valued at 601,000 shillings. He also denied the charges and his hearing was set for 17th of May. Ishmael Otieno was the 4th suspect presented before the chief magistrate to answer similar charges. He denied being caught with 24 sachets of heroin in Mwembe Tayari. Otieno was remanded in custody until the 25th of April when his case will be heard. Only a day earlier, 4 others were arraigned in court here in Mombasa with drug-related offences from cocaine to bang in what will be seen as intensified efforts to fight the drug menace in the region. Already, Mwembe Tayari Market Building, a well-known hideout for drug traffickers, drug users and muggers in Mombasa's CBD, is in the process of being brought down following the dramatic arrest of 38 in the abandoned premises a fortnight ago. The arraignment of the accused in court takes the war against drugs to legal street. However, the true taste of victory shall only be felt if prosecution can actually get a conviction and if the punishment thereafter will be deterrent enough for any future would-be traffickers. Ferdinand Mondi, KTN, Mombasa.
Okay, now Medical Services Minister Professor Anyang' Nyong'o has now taken the cabinet tenure debate to the courts. The minister, who is also the Kisumu senator-elect, has moved to court to block President Mwai Kibaki's directive requiring elected cabinet ministers and assistant ministers to resign before the swearing-in set for this Thursday. Nyong'o has clashed with the president on a circular conveyed by the head of the civil service, Francis Kimemia, requiring the cabinet to relinquish their posts. And as Samogina reports, the court order also wants the freezing of the swearing-in of all elected leaders.
The Kisumu County Senate-elect wants the swearing-in exercise of governors, senators, MPs and women representatives halted until the swearing-in of a new president. Nyong'o argues the new president will breathe life to the devolved government that shall establish the elected posts. The Medical Services Minister wants the court to declare head of civil service boss Francis Kimemia's circular dated March 18th, directing them to resign with immediate effect so as to qualify to be sworn in by the clerk of the National Assembly as null and void. The matter is to be heard on Thursday before High Court Judge Isaac Lenaola, but after the respondents, that is Kimemia and the clerk of the National Assembly, are duly served. Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka also added his voice to the cabinet tenure debate, saying that the Grand Coalition government is still in force. The move now puts to jeopardy the swearing-in ceremony scheduled to begin Wednesday, with governors being the first lot to be sworn in. Preparations were underway ahead of tomorrow's swearing-in of governors across the 47 counties. In Nairobi, workers were putting final touches at Uhuru Park ahead of the ceremony to usher in Evans Kidero as Nairobi's governor. In Kiambu and Nyeri counties, the story was the same as preparations for the swearing-in were finalized. Meanwhile, the Jubilee coalition has strengthened its contest for the National Assembly Speaker's seat by fielding a single candidate, former Siakago MP Justin Muturi, to face off with CORD's Kenneth Marende, the immediate former Speaker, and Wajir South MP Mohamed Sirat. Former Mandera MP Abdikadir Mohamed Ali Tuesday pulled out, solidifying Jubilee's chances at the Speaker's shot. Meanwhile, Sotik MP Joyce Laboso, equally from the Jubilee Alliance, has been cleared to contest for the Deputy Speaker's seat alongside Daniel Maanzo of CORD and Abdikadir Omar Adan. In the Senate, sources indicate URP leadership is prevailing upon former National Speaker Francis Ole Kaparo to shelve his bid in place for Turkana Central MP Ekwe Ethuro as Senate Speaker. Both names are contained in a list of 7 individuals jostling for the Senate Speaker's seat. The Jubilee strategy is to field a single candidate to face off with CORD's Farah Maalim in the Senate Speaker's race. This to ensure control of both Parliament and the Senate. Other interested parties for the Senate Speaker include lawyer Philip Murgor, Margaret Kamar, among others. Meanwhile, 4 candidates have been cleared for the Deputy Senate Speaker's seat, including CORD's Wilfred Mashage, UDF's George Haniri, Kembi Gitura and Peter Mositet. Samogina, KTN.
13 ministers in the current government have so far resigned their positions following a directive by President Mwai Kibaki that all ministers voted into various positions following the recently concluded general election relinquish their cabinet positions. According to the government spokesman Mudhui Kariuki, the latest ministers to resign are Public Service Minister Dalmas Otieno, Education Minister Mutula Kilonzo, Gender Minister Naomi Shaban, Defense Minister Yusuf Haji, and the Minister for Energy Kiraitu Murungi. Over 6 assistant ministers have also heeded the call and resigned from their positions. According to the circular, those who would not relinquish their public offices by the time of swearing in of elected officials would not be allowed to take the oath of their new positions. The swearing in of MPs and senators takes place on Thursday, 28th of March 2013. And that story leads us to a big question tonight, and we ask, should elected ministers who've not resigned be barred from the swearing in? Well, send your yes or no responses with a brief comment to the number 8040, and we'll sample your views during this newscast and give you the poll results at the tail end of this live bulletin. Well, you are watching KTN Prime. We now take a short commercial break. More news coming up next. Stay tuned. KTN Prime. Now tonight, the Jubilee Coalition is embarking on intense lobbying as the battle to control Parliament intensifies ahead of the opening of the National Assembly and Senate this Thursday. The coalition and its allies are currently in Naivasha for our retreat, and our reporter Asha Mulu now joins us live with the latest from Naivasha. Asha, what can you tell us now?
Yes, Betty, good evening and thank you for joining us. We are coming to you live from Naivasha. This is the Great Rift Valley Lodge, where of course the Jubilee Coalition is having their retreat. We've been talking about it all week long. It's not a holiday though. A lot of lobbying is ongoing here at the Great Rift Valley Lodge. What we know is that we've been keeping track of who is arriving here. Nominated and elected members of the National Assembly as well as the Senate representing the Jubilee Coalitions have been coming here, and of course led by the president-elect, who is also the flag bearer of the Jubilee Coalition, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, and his deputy William Ruto, arriving here earlier on, as you can see in the images on your screen right now. And what we can say is that also the APK flag bearer, that is Kiraitu Murungi, that has been in talks over a post-election deal with the Jubilee Coalition, also arrived here, showing us just how serious this coalition is in terms of getting control of the 11th Parliament, as we await the official opening of the National Assembly and the Senate on Thursday, when MPs, women-elect, women representatives and senators will be sworn in. But Betty, let me talk about the crucial lobbying that is taking place right now. We know it's about the speakers and deputy speakers positions in the respective lower and upper chambers of the 11th Parliament that are up for grabs, and the contenders, of course, lobbying their coalitions. From the Jubilee side, Abdikadir Mohammed, we understand, dropped his bid earlier today, leaving Harrison Mwangi and Justin Muturi, who is the former Chicago MP, going for that seat. Of course, they will be facing CORD coalitions. Kenneth Marende, who was the speaker in the 10th Parliament for that specific seat. So what we know is that Jubilee might be deliberating, actually will be, not might be, will be deliberating on whether they will be fronting these two candidates or whether they will decide on one candidate come Thursday. On the Senate side, we understand that URP's Francis Ole Kaparo, as well as Ekwe Thuro, who is the former Turkana Central MP, will be going for the Speaker's seat in the Senate, going head-to-head with ODM's Farah Maalim. As we hear rumors coming in is that Francis Ole Kaparo may be dropping his bid, but let's just hear it from the man himself, and he's joining me live here. That is the former Speaker of the 9th Parliament, Francis Ole Kaparo. We all remember him. Let's hear. How are you, sir?
I'm all right.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you.
Well, we're hearing that you're dropping your bid for the Speaker's seat, the Senate Speaker's seat.
I don't know where that rumor comes from, but I suspect it is coming from scared competitors who wish I will not contest. But I want to assure you and assure the country and the Senate that I am in this game to the very end. I have not, and I repeat, I have not withdrawn my candidature and will not withdraw my candidature.
Well, perhaps everyone is asking this question that even analysts have been posing, is that if you front two candidates, that is you and Ekwe Thuro, both from one party, to go for the Speaker's Senate seat, won't that minimize your chances and probably give your opponent Farah Maalim from the CORD coalition an upper hand of winning that seat?
Indeed it may, but as you know, we have our Jubilee Coalition meeting here. We believe that the issue will be discussed. We believe we should be able to sort out who the Jubilee will front. But in the event that they will allow more than one candidate, which is actually the right of the candidates themselves to stand.
Yes.
Nobody can stop any candidate from running.
Yes.
They can only be persuaded not to run. In the event that that doesn't work out, everybody goes to the ballot. And as you know, if nobody gets the requisite number of votes on round one, then on round two, the best two will go forward.
Yes.
And the first one with a simple majority will win.
Definitely. Well, we'll be wishing you all the best as you go for that, and we'll be waiting to hear what the Jubilee Coalition comes up with, the decision they come up with, whether it will be both of you or one of you going for that seat.
Thank you, but I would just want to put this message.
Yes.
I think it is absolutely reckless of any media house or any other organization disseminating news to send out a false story on a matter that is as grave as this. I think they must take the earliest opportunity to correct that erroneous statement and must apologize to me and to Kenyans as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
As you can hear, Francis Ole Kaparo there saying that he's still running for that seat, the Speaker Senate seat, with the URP ticket, of course, going against Farah Maalim and Ekwe Thuro. But Betty, this is about the numbers. The reason why the Jubilee Coalition is very crucial in just getting their team together here and making sure that they are formidable before they go to the House on Thursday is because of the numbers game. The election of the Speaker will be a secret ballot, and of course you do not know who will vote on what side, and it's all about making sure that the entire coalition votes together. We know that Code Coalition will also be meeting tomorrow in Karen to also get their team in order. Betty.
Well, thank you very much, Asha Mwilu, for that report. She is coming to us live from Naivasha, where the Jubilee Coalition has embarked on intense lobbying to just get it right on the kind of leadership they want in the National Assembly and the Senate. Of course, these are two main positions that they probably want to get a hold of, looking and seeing that the Code Coalition is also a big rival. And of course, from tomorrow on, we'll be giving to you all these details in courtesy of Asha. Let's now move on to other news. Two senior officials from the Kenya Revenue Authority have been killed by unknown gunmen in Garissa. The incident took place just after 4 p.m. along Gamia Street in Garissa town, opposite the Garissa supermarket. The two were shot from the back at close range by unknown assailants who escaped immediately after the shooting. No arrests have been made. However, the police in the area have launched investigations into the killings, whose motive is unknown. Security has been beefed up in Garissa as the town gets ready for the swearing in of the new governor tomorrow. Now, the High Court has annulled a notice issued to former President Moi's aide Joshua Kulei by the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission in 2006, in which the anti-graft body was seeking to force him to publicly declare his wealth. Justice David Majanja annulled the notice dated 12th July 2006 by the then anti-corruption body KACC. In a case that took 8 years to determine, Majanja described it as a discredit to the judicial system. The court held that the amendment by the 10th Parliament to the provisions of Section 26 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act No. 3 of 2003 prevents the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission from proceeding on a fishing expedition without a reasonable basis for suspected corruption or economic crime. Joshua Kulei was seeking to stop the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission from asking him to publicly declare his wealth. KACC had in 2006 asked Kulei to furnish it with a list of his properties, a demand that Kulei contested in court. Well, remember, we are still giving you the comprehensive coverage of what exactly took place today at the Supreme Court. It was the second day of the status conference, and we have James Smart and Sophia Wanuna who are standing by at the Supreme Court, and will be giving us more details of what exactly happened there, together with a discussion with an expertise. James Smart, if you can hear me, what do you have for us for now?
All right, thank you very much. Back at the Supreme Court outside here where the titanic legal battle took place just a few hours ago. I'm now joined by Ambrose Weda, advocate and council member of the Law Society of Kenya. Ambrose, broadly, what happened today?
Today many things happened. One, the 900-page affidavit by the court coalition actually was thrown out. Yesterday as we spoke, I thought the court may not have thrown it out.
You spoke of technicalities and the...
Yes, but I also spoke that if they looked at time and the timetable, then they would throw it out, because if it was allowed, it would have required that the other side is given time to respond to it, and it would be 2-3 days. Now those days are not there, because if by Saturday the decision has not been rendered, then any decision rendered thereafter would be null and void. So that was a major setback, but it does not mean that that is the end of the road for the petition. The petition itself for the court people is still intact. It is still there. The second thing is the request for forensic audit, again, was thrown out on the basis that it would have required time to do it, and the timetable set by the court, the time set by the Constitution, does not allow that. So those two could have gone with vital evidence that court may have wanted to rely on. But now they are gone. That's what under the bridge. They must rely on the petition that they filed.
Ambrose, help me and my viewers understand.
Yes.
This affidavit that was filed by George Oraro.
Yes.
900 page, or
Yes.
839 to be exact.
Yes.
Filed, and his argument
Yes.
has been simply that I've just annexed details that I was given by IEBC after I pushed them and even filed,
Yes.
in the High Court to have them avail this evidence.
Yes.
Now it's not there. What was he trying to achieve by this affidavit?
I think, having listened to the Supreme Court, that affidavit had several other affidavits. One by Honorable Raila Odinga, by Janet, by quite a number of people, making various allegations that required investigations. It also brought in additional polling areas that required investigations. In fact, almost 100. And I think 102 or 120.
122.
122. Those are new polling areas that required retallying, required to be investigated, required to be looked at. So as much as it could have been argued that it was just cementing the original petition, it was introducing other grey areas. Now that is now water under the bridge, having been refused by the court.
Another great thing that happened today, and it was not in the public limelight, was
Yes.
the retallying of the 22 polling stations,
Yes.
if you like, that happened at the KICC. Catherine Omanto has been there and has given the details of what's happening there. But the public is locked out of it. We don't know what's happening there. But what's the impact of this? Why did the Supreme Court have this as the first thing ordered yesterday, and what's the impact of it come tomorrow?
Now, the retallying is a physical process. It's like the counting of the votes and retallying. Now, an election petition is about the number of votes. It's about the will of the people. What did they want? And to know that will, you look at how they voted. So, as much as there would be very cogent legal argument, it all boils down to how many votes did so-and-so get, did Raila get, how many votes did Uhuru get. Now, that will, you can only see it through looking at those forms and doing the retallying. Now, when court went to court, they made allegations touching on certain polling stations. Now, those were the polling stations that were isolated by the Supreme Court, and an order made so that you look at them, you inquire, you tally, and check whether the allegations made are correct or they are not correct. And it is important, if the retallying process gives in scenario number one, if at the end of retallying it is found that Jubilee got, let's say, 5,000 extra votes which they ought not to have gotten, then a decision would come in that Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta would not have won in round one, and therefore the court may opt for a runoff. If the retallying shows that the 800,000 votes that Uhuru got he did not get, or they were Raila's votes, then the court may order that we go for a rerun. If, on the other hand, the retallying shows that the votes are intact and they are proper, notwithstanding other serious legal arguments, the petition will revolve around that retallying outcome, and it may be lost.
Ambrose, I must ask you for the final question. Tomorrow, two things to look at. Yes. We have the what has been brought forward by Kathy Kilonzo, looking at the register to be produced. Yes. She wants that to be produced. But also, the petition number 3 needs to be decided and disposed of tomorrow. What are we looking at tomorrow generally?
Now, first, the court will make a decision on Kathy Kilonzo's notice of motion, notice to produce. Now, that notice required various documents, including registers and so on. Again, looking at the trend and the fact that tomorrow is a trial day for the petition, that notice may require additional time, and the court has said we don't have that extra time. Chances of that application being rejected are a bit higher. After they do that, if they were to allow it, then IEBC and the rest must be given time to go and produce those documents and to give it to the other people to look at them and to respond. That is why the likelihood is almost nil. Then they go to petition number 3. Now, petition number 3 seeks the court's decision on whether spoilt votes should or ought to have been included in the final tally. Now, if the court decides that they ought not to have been included, then the percentage that Honorable Ouru got would increase. Do you understand? Yes. If, on the other hand, the court holds that they ought to have been included, then the final tally remains the same.
All right.
So that is the position. Then when they finish that, they move to the main petition number 5.
Handling tomorrow.
Yes.
Ambrose Sweda, always very helpful. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Talking there to Ambrose Sweda, who's the as council member of the Law Society of Kenya and also an advocate of the High Court, helping us just understand what has happened today and walking us through the various legal jargons, if you like. Now, I'd like to hand you over to business jargonista, Joy Doreen Bira. Joy, what do you have for business?
Well, thanks a lot, James Smart. And tonight on Business, we'll be telling you just about how improved cargo clearance is between the Kenyan and Tanzanian borders, and also, more importantly, we're going to be letting you know about the social media ratings with the companies that are listed at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we'll be speaking to Chelimo Chalagat from the Standard Digital Department, and she's going to be telling us quite a whole lot more about what to expect in as far as computing the numbers on social media is concerned. So do stay with us. That and more is coming up in Business tonight. Good evening and welcome to KTN Business Today. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Kenya's economy and markets have so far withstood the test of time in this electoral cycle as compared to the previous one. Now this, according to the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, is a sign of maturity in the country's political and market systems. Michael Karanja kicks off tonight's Business.
The 2013 general election period has so far provided an unprecedented scenario in Kenyan history. Relative stability in the country as well as numerous peace campaigns have seen the country brave the period unlike previous elections. Prior to the March 4th elections, Kenya's economy was largely resilient compared to other years, with the capital markets holding ground and the investment environment remaining upbeat. And now the private sector is hailing this as maturity and coming of age of Kenyan politics and the economy.
One thing that people lose sight of is the fact that the longer we stay from March the 4th, the easier people get. And so the longer it stays, the more people come on and begin to work, right? And I don't think you're going to see any reversal, right? People are coming back, and for each day, as you know, as the Supreme Court does its work and people hear what is coming out, the confidence is coming through. Even just as of yesterday alone, the kind of vibes you're getting is very positive.
Despite being a prolonged electoral process with a petition filed at the Supreme Court challenging the results, the private sector players say this has not disrupted normal business operation. Unlike previous years, the Kenya shilling has remained range-bound between 85 and 87 shillings against the dollar, while the NSE 20 share index has firmed up to 4,758.22 points after a slight dip in the run-up to the elections.
and Kenya has to move on. We have to create jobs. All the parties who are there right now were all aligned towards Vision 2030. There was no misalignment. And therefore, we have to bake the cake. It's not a ready cake to go and eat. So it's not about our turn to eat. It's more about let's go and bake the cake.
Under the banner of the Kenya Daima, the private sector once again called for all political leaders to preach peace as the country awaits the outcome of the ongoing petitions. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Thanks, Michael, for that report. Now, social media and online presence is fast becoming a cutting edge in business. And who does it better locally than your preferred media station, the Standard Media Group? Now, the group has been ranked top among listed companies in the use of social media to drive its news agenda. We have more on that report.
4,070,989 views on YouTube, 104,000 and counting likes on its Facebook page, and over 97,000 followers on the General Standard Digital Twitter handle. Standard Media Group is the top of the NSE listed companies' brands on social media.
3 companies performing the best on social media in Kenya are in third place, Kenya Airways, and second place it was Safaricom, and in first place it was Standard Digital.
Also flying the Standard Media Group banner is Google+, where the firm emerged among the top 3. According to Interactive Concepts, a South African-based e-marketing company, here is how this latest ranking, conducted in the second week of March, was arrived at.
So there are 3 tools that we used to get the results as well. The one is called Tweet Grader, and it allows you to find out what your grade is on Twitter. Another one is called Peer Index, and it looks at what your peers are saying about you or that brand online. And the third one is Cloud, and Cloud allows you to see what your performance is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, a blog, Foursquare and Flickr, and it combines all of that.
But just what do Kenyans do on these platforms?
I Google, I see for World Vision. I also look for something which is interesting, like the e-learning.
Other companies listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with powerful online presence include Safaricom, that topped the list of interactivity on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Google+, Kenya Power and Kenya Airways, as well as Nation Media, among others.
And well, there we go. That's another milestone for the Standard Media Group. And of course, when it comes to internet penetration in Kenya, you cannot dispute the fact that Kenya does lead in the East African region with about 28% internet penetration in the country. That is leading the entire region. But well, if you take a look at the images that are rolling over there, you could actually take a look at our Standard Digital department, where all the online, marketing or computing does go on. So that is where the numbers keep shooting up, with about 34 million views on our YouTube channel. And then we also have over 97,000 followers on our Twitter page. And also, if you're going to look at the numbers there, you're going to go up to about 104,000 likes on the Facebook page. Now this of course does exclude the KTN page, which has about 375,000 that is likes on Facebook, and quite a number of over 200,000 followers on our Twitter handle. And well, we continue to invite your views in as far as our news agenda is concerned on social media. Remember, you can always reach us on our handles at KTN Kenya, and also on Facebook, KTN Kenya, for more of the details. On YouTube, you can always reach us on KTN Kenya as well for all the news stories that you need to know about. Moving on with business, oil marketing firm Total Kenya has warned that its financial year report for 2012 will be substantially lower than those of the previous year. In a statement to newsrooms this morning, the firm said the lower than expected results were as a result of a settlement made in relation to the Triton oil scandal of 2009. And according to Managing Director Alexis Vuk, despite reporting losses in their half-year results, the management had put in measures to turn around the firm. firm. However, he added that the legal claim raised against the company in a London court had since progressed and developed. According to capital market regulations, profit warnings are issued when a company projects that its financial results would be more than 25% lower than the previous year. Currently, Total Kenya is the single largest oil marketer in Kenya by shareholding at 21.4%. Now, let's take a look at how the Kenya shilling is faring against the international currencies and also a look at the stock market. Do stay with us. Now, we all want to know what's happening with the Harambee Stars after they beat Nigeria. Well, Nicholas Mudimba is going to be giving us those details in just a short while. Business comes to a close until tomorrow. I'm Joy Doreen Bira. Have a good evening.
Today I am Nicholas Mudimba. The national cross-country team has just been hosted for welcome dinner by AK sponsors Kenya Commercial Bank. The team had earlier received a hero's welcome at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after arriving from Bydgoszcz, Poland, where it clinched 3 gold medals and 2 silver medals. Relatives and officials from the Ministry of Sports and Athletics Kenya congregated at the airport to receive the world beaters. The usual Kenyan way of receiving Kenya's triumphant teams did not miss as gold medalists Faith Chepngetich, Emily Chebet and Jafet Korir were carried shoulder high as they received traditional milk served straight from the gourd.
Sahi na niko na furaha tele kwa sababu nimefaulu katika kategori ya junior na nilikuwa junior na nimefaulu kufika senior na nikafaulu mpaka nikaleta medali ya gold this time round. Nashukuru Mungu kwa vile ameniwezesha.
Course ilikuwa ngumu sana. Ilikuwa na ice na Wakenya hatujawahi kimbia ice, huku kwetu hatuna ice, lakini tuling'ang'ana sana mpaka tukaleta.
A 4.5 billion shillings international sports academy has been commissioned at the Moi Sports Center Kasarani. The academy that could dwarf the Aspire Academy in Qatar will be built in 2 phases, with the first phase expected to be completed in 2016 at a cost of 850 million shillings. The government has committed 145 million shillings to have the program rolling. Hassan Juma reports from Kasarani.
Talk for an academy has been on for many years now, but Tuesday's groundbreaking at the expansive Kasarani Stadium was a surety that the country's first ever sports academy is a reality. The government was not just talking, but it set aside 145 million shillings for the construction of the first phase of the multi-million facility. When it is complete, it will allow Kenyan athletes acquire modern skills that enables them compete better in global championships. The international facility will particularly offer training and research in sports medicine, anti-doping and other related activities.
Let's just say that we are starting a journey today towards joining the big league in terms of offering our sports people an environment in which they can prepare effectively to represent this country.
The facility will be used ostensibly for training by national teams and could be hired out to other countries. It will also be a pre-departure camp for teams, besides it being used to market the country as a sports destination in the region, hence promoting sports tourism.
We need to market this country more robustly through sports. And you can imagine the kind of international attention that Kenya would receive if Arsenal Football Club or Celtic were to come to play a couple of games here in Nairobi.
The project will be built in 2 phases, with the initial phase costing a whopping 850 million shillings. The first phase will have an administration block, indoor sporting facility, various pitches for all sporting disciplines, as well as a medicine and research centers. The second phase will have aquatic facilities and residential. The entire project requires 4.5 billion shillings to complete. The project is one of the Vision 2030 flagship, and the first phase of the project is expected to be completed by 2016. Reporting for KTN Sports today, I'm Hassan Juma.
The national football team, Harambee Stars, have slightly over 2 months to strategize the remaining World Cup qualifiers in June. Coach Adela Mrushi says he'll build on the promising results in Nigeria last weekend, and hinted that his mix of youth and experienced players have not changed. The Stars returned home from Calabar last evening, where they were held to a 1-0 draw by African champions Nigeria. Kenya hosts Nigeria on 8th of June and plays away to Malawi a week later. This type of reception has been a preserve of the national athletics, rugby and volleyball teams once they return home from the successful outings in World Championships. The national football team, who shocked many by settling to a draw with African champions, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, received a befitting welcome on Monday night. The reception went a notch higher when President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta and Nairobi Senator-elect Gideon Mbuvi lived their promise to reward the team with $1 million shillings each. Such kind of motivation is what head coach Adela Mruchi says will help all the plans he has for the team going forward.
When we have the team, we have the future, we have the youth. I know now the other potential. The first, now we form very good group, family, positive thinking, you know, and you can see there are many players. The first selection you play. This is future. It's better you ask him or him. This is the future. This one, other. There are many players. The first Omolo, Christian Bomi. You know, we build the team for the future.
Thika United's Francis Kahata, whose free kick silenced and shocked Nigeria, was the man of the moment, and coach was quick to point out that his long-term plan for the Stars is identifying and nurturing young talent, with some readily available in local Premier League clubs.